Here is a Delta 44. It's in its original shape without any modification. The noise floor 20 kHz below center is here, 16.63. The spur up here, now it's in the center. I will run a bit faster. Is at 25.8. And 69.62 is the frequency. That's when I have set it with 7 MHz as the center. And then the center spur. It has a certain width, as you can see. I have to wait just a little bit to be able to read out from here to here. 23.4, let's say. The computer is an X9 DAI from Supermicro, and it does not have any PCI slots. For that reason, the Delta 44 is mounted on a PCIe to PCI adapter. This thing. I will now replace it with a modified board. You can see modifications, for example, here. And there are things up here. These modifications are described on my home page. This point should be grounded also. And now the modified is on the adapter. The noise floor 20 kHz away is now 9.98, well 10 dB. That is about 6.5 dB lower than before. The spur here is a little bit higher, but this spur goes away when there is a signal into the card. It has to do with the mechanism by which the AD conversion is done. It is now 30 dB, that's about 4 dB stronger than before. And the center noise, finally, here, and I have to wait a little bit for that. Well, (23), and it was 25.8 before, so it is a little bit better, not much. I have connected here the standard cable that goes normally from the Delta 44 to the breakout box. And the other end is here. It makes no difference on what I can see on the screen. The center peak and the level 23 dB, and the noise floor looks pretty much like 10 decibels, as it should. I have connected here the cable that is an adapter for the Softrock Ensemble, converts from the D sub connector to two normal audio plugs. This is not quite okay, however, as you can see, it picks up 50 Hz. Not very surprising. These audio cables are standard audio cables, they are not screened. This audio cable has a screen. I will make an adapter with this one. I have added a fairly thick ground wire besides the audio cables. That is connecting to the common screen on the standard cable for the Delta 44, and it will serve as a return for the DC supply later on. So here is the new adapter for the Softrock, and it looks better here. If I put my hand on the cable, you can see this, like that. So the screening is not perfect, but it's a little bit better. I have connected now the Softrock and powered it up, and it doesn't look so good. The reason is that there is a ground loop. The power supply here is supplying current to the Softrock, but also to this box, which is my tone keyer. And it might supply also 12 volts to other things, and that creates a ground loop. If I disconnect the supply to this box, like this, you can see on the screen here what happens. The problems go away. And the S meter shows this. So it's obviously something that has to be done differently. I have removed the ground loop, at least almost, by connecting the power supply to the back side of the computer. So the blue wire here is from the power supply. This is the tone keyer, and that's for the Softrock. And then the plus side, they are connected together here. This is a little bit better, but it's not good enough. But I don't need to run the return current from the Softrock through this wire using the power connector. So now it looks good. But the return current is through the screens of the audio cables, and they may be a little bit too thin for the current when transmitting. So I connect this ground cable that you saw before, and I have a connection for it on the Softrock. And that made no difference, as you can see. Now I added also the USB cable, and you can see there are some small spurs here that come from the USB. Now I am injecting a strong signal, and I step it up in steps of 10 dB. Oops. So that was the point of saturation. And we can see here that the amplitude margin is about 6 or 7 decibels. Maybe I can go up 5 dB from this point. Look at the main spectrum. Not really okay. So I think this is about the maximum that we will want to have into the Softrock. And that's about 10 decibels below saturation of the sound card. So I use ALSA mixer to increase the gain of the sound card. That's not really the proper solution. I should go in and modify the Softrock to have about 10 dB less gain in the output op-amp. Maybe something like that. And switch off the signal. And look at the noise floor. You can see the noise floor is significantly higher now, which means we have lost some dynamic range. It is now 6 dB higher. But this isn't really necessary. We could reduce the gain, and maybe saturation would then happen in the mixer, but I don't think so. 2.7 kilo ohms and 470 pf across the feedback resistor capacitor of the op-amps. Hopefully this will set the gain to a more suitable level for the Delta 44. I increase the strong signal now in steps of 1 dB. I'm monitoring the noise floor at 14.1 MHz. Oops, this is where something went wrong. So it's overloaded. So I back 1 dB and clear the overflow, the amplitude margin. And you can see we have 3 decibels unused. So I use the ALSA mixer and increase the gain until the AD converter saturates at this signal level. Something like this. Not quite. Maybe this could be good. So I bring up the level by 1 dB and we have saturation. And I bring it down 1 dB and down a 2nd dB. And this all looks good now. Remove the signal. And we can see reciprocal mixing. The noise floor is a little bit lower now. If I look, let's say here, and enable the signal again, And so reciprocal mixing lifts the noise floor by, is it 2 decibels? That's not too bad. And here is the noise floor, and I disconnect the Delta 44. And you can see that the noise floor only goes down by about 1 dB when I disconnect the sound card. It means that the noise figure now is not very good, but the dynamic range is extremely good. We could put a preamplifier in front of this unit and make a much better noise figure with a small impact on the dynamic range. I have connected this generator at -100 dBm and calibrated the S meter to show the correct signal level. And then I switch off the generator and we'll get the noise floor directly here. -121, and that is in 1 kilohertz bandwidth. That is -151 in dBm per hertz. 151 and compared to 174, that's 23 decibels. That's the noise figure of this radio now. I now step up the level of the signal generator. Here we are, that's saturation. So just below saturation, the signal level is -7 dBm. That's a pretty strong signal. We could put the preamplifier with a noise figure of 3 dB and 10 dB gain and still have a very good dynamic range and a very low noise figure. Something went wrong when I was looking with the oscilloscope in the Softrock. Only the Q channel works, the op-amp of the I channel is dead. So I have changed to make Linrad show I and Q independently as 2 RF channels. And I have set the same gain for both of them, and you can see the green, that means channel 1 is very low. And I don't want to see it at all, so I go into ALSA mixer and set the first one to 0 and this one to what we had before. It was here. I want to establish the maximum allowed signal level, so I look at the third overtone, which we have here. And I have to change scales a little bit. So it's the red track, and I go in steps of 1 dB, increasing the signal level. And you can see the third overtone goes up by 30 dB. For a single dB, it means we are in the non-linear region. It is creeping. I go downwards 1 dB, 1 more dB, and 1 more dB. So here is the level where the op-amp in the Softrock goes non-linear. It is -9 dBm. And I press Z with Linrod in focus, Z, and we have a 2 decibels margin. Means I can turn up the gain of the Delta 44 a little bit, like this. And now I can check the noise figure. Means I switch off the generator and look at the noise floor, and then I switch off, disconnect the Softrock, and look at the noise floor from the Softrock. It differs by about 5 dB. I don't know what went wrong here, but anyway, the gain seems appropriate. Most of the noise comes from the Softrock in the Q channel, and the I channel is no longer working. I made a mistake, short-circuited something, and I cannot repair it because it's surface mount and too small.